Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. We've got another scope here from Sportsman Gun Centre, and this is the Element Optics Theos, one of their finest scopes, one I really enjoy using. Now this one's got the APR 2D reticle, it's first focal plane, and it's all MIL, so absolutely to my preferences there. Now, if we open this box up, the magnification rating is a 6:36, so that's a 6 times zoom ratio, and it's because it's 56mm objective lens to let plenty of light coming into that tube, making the most of all those magnification factors and mechanics involved in the long range capability of this scope. So what's in the box? Number one, reticle guide. This is the APR 2D reticle, gives an excellent idea of exactly how it works and whether it's going to suit your eyes or not. Some people like the busier reticles, some people like the clearer reticles, but essentially with it being first focal plane, that means that all your clicks on the scope, either windage or elevation, will match the subtensions represented in the reticle perfectly, regardless of magnification setting, regardless of distance. It's all about the angles. So that's the reticle guide there. Tells us a little bit about the mil scale, the 0.2mm radius divisions, extensive holdover dots, numbered markings, tapered bars and illumination. Now tapered bars refers to sort of the external bars which kind of draw your eye towards the centre. So when you've got the magnification dialed lower and the reticle is of course smaller, well it still diverts your eye and your attention towards the centre of the reticle picture and the field of view. And that is a superb factor because combined with the other thing that's mentioned here, illumination, that makes the reticle so much more versatile for every condition and every use, because if you do happen to use it in scenarios where you want a bit more field of view and you drop that magnification down to 6 power, it means that you will not lose the reticle, which will inherently become smaller because you can turn up the illumination, the tapered bars draw your eye to the centre, and it just gives you a win-win situation, to be honest. So we got an Element Optics sticker here, Element Optics instruction manual. This will go through all the factors about the scope, including setting it up, most importantly how to operate the ocular eyepiece focus, how to operate side parallax, how to operate the turrets. It also shows us there is an additional throw lever, so you can add that to the magnification ring to speed up changes in magnification. So all the factors are covered in here, but let's have a look at it physically in my hands. There's a 3-inch sunshade there. I don't think we'll be using that just at the moment because it's December and there's not really much going on sunlight wise in an awkward position. But other factors we've got are more interesting. We've got the little sort of ghost string thread protector, we've got an Allen key, and we've also got an iris adjuster here which allows us to actually change the objective aperture to give you slightly more depth of field. Last but not least, there is a neoprene stretch over cover to protect your optic, but here is the optic itself. Now what's most unusual visually about the Theos is it's kind of got this, how shall I call it, it's like a great white shark colour, it's like a sort of off grey, and it really differentiates it from a lot of other optics out there. I've never seen another optic in this colour. You see a lot of black optics, you see a lot of optics sort of cerakoted, flat dark earth, things like that, but this one really stands out. Right, I'll just put this box to one side. So looking at these things here, let's just show you the accessories that are included. So this is the aperture iris, whatever you'd like to call it. That's a threaded insert there, so that will thread in here, and essentially for anybody who knows about cameras and things like that, you can change the aperture to change the depth of field, and it doesn't matter too much if you're shooting long distances, things like that, but if you've got very close range or you want to be changing with more focal detail across different distances, and this is regardless of the adjustable focus parallax control on the side, this gives you more inherent natural depth of field. Now, of course, you might say, well, it's restricting light entering the tube, but yes, it does very slightly, but it doesn't affect the field of view, and it does give you that slightly larger depth of field, which some people will definitely prefer. The other little additional accessory here is a little thread protector ring. Just pop this out the bag. Look at this more in the details in a moment, but it's got windage adjustment under a cap there. And if, for example, you don't want to use that cap permanently, want to leave it to one side, there's a little thread protector that goes on under here and covers that up, so make sure you're not going to damage that thread at all, and you're not going to use it, it's not going to pick up dirt, dust, things like that. And you effectively change a dial adjustable scope to an adjustable turret scope for windage as well as the elevation. So looking a little bit back at it now, this is a 34mm main tube, gives us lots of space for the internal tubes to move around, gives you more elevation travel. I'll add all the statistics and data specifications in the description for this scope, but the other factors that we're keen to cover are things like this. It's got a fast focus eyepiece at the back that allows you to get an absolutely crisp reticle picture. There's a throw lever as described here on the magnification collar, which goes from 6 to 36 power, and those throw levers are a really popular modern feature a lot of scopes cover, because it makes it so much faster to dial the scope down to get that immediate field of view to pick up a target, and then if you need to, you can quickly dial in for the more precision aiming solution, especially if you're spotting your own bullet impact or splash on the target itself or into the backstop even. This one is the milliradian adjustment. It's got milliradian clicks on it. That's 1 centimetre at 100 metres, which is 0.1 milliradian. And then these go all the way round, offering us 12 milliradians per rotation. You can also see there's a little lever here, and when that goes into the second rotation, can you see how that little lever clicks past to show you in the second rotation? And the second rotation obviously then reads on 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 milliradians, etc. Now there is also a zero stop on this scope, so once you have zeroed it, so say for example my scope is now zeroed there after it's gone on the rifle, lift that off the top, and that then, when you put the turret back down, offers you a zero stop with just 5 clicks below centre. So that is automatically easy to set up, very fast in use. Now for the moment I'll just pop that back on there because this isn't on the rifle yet. I'm going to be putting it on a rifle shortly and taking it out shooting over the next few days. Left side we've got the parallax control here, and that dials all the way up to 1000 and it dials all the way down to 10 metres. Now 10 metres means you can use this on air rifles as well, which you will necessarily be using at much shorter distances. A lot of people see me review scopes and say, oh, that's a very expensive scope for an air rifle or a rimfire. But I would actually say, interestingly, that those are some of the rifles that you might actually be doing the most dialing with over the most distance changes, because they have a much more curvature to the trajectory, and you will appreciate all this dialing capability so much more, as well as that close range parallax control, which means that down at 10 metres you can still use absolutely full magnification and get a crystal clear picture. Because many of you may have experienced scopes in the past, especially those with minimum 50 metre parallax adjustment, or in fact non-parallax adjustable at all, and of course you dial it down to 3 power, or in this case it would be 6 power, but you have to dial down to minimal magnification, and even then it's not necessarily in clear focus because you're at physically too short a distance for it to be in focus. That is the great joy of parallax adjustability, and it is also the enjoyment of close range parallax adjustability like the 10 metres available here. Now this has illumination control on it, and that's controlled by this external push button on the end here. If I remove this cap, CR2032 battery goes in there. One isn't actually supplied, but that's not such a big issue because you'll probably want to keep a few spares anyway through the life of the scope, and that will go under there. And then you've got push button illumination and intensity control, and I'll see you about that when I've got it out, get it in the full review. Now you can see on the bottom here it actually says made in Japan. That is a massive reassurance of quality and optical capability of any optic from years past, and it still stands up now as one of the finest manufacturers in the world. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, using it when I've got it on the rifle, got it zeroed up, and start shooting through some multiple distances. Just to cover this, the last thing, obviously once you've actually set up your windage adjustment, take that little dial out there, this will lift off, turn that round until it's 0, pop it back in position at 0, screw the cap back in, and then we have got left and right travel from the point of 0, and we've got there 5 milliradians to the left or 5 milliradians to the right. Having a little look at the overall specifications on this scope, those are the main details there which we can see. So magnification 6 to 36 times, main tube diameter 34 millimeters. Again, that's what gives you a lot of physical travel for the internal tube mechanisms in there to move up and down in an angular fashion. Objective lens is 56mm, and the exit pupil, which is the piece you can see projected back out to your eye, goes from 8.8 to 1.6mm from 6 to 36 times magnification. Eye relief is 74 to 89mm, and that is ideal because it generally carries the traits that it will give you a very, very forgiving eye box. And although it's maybe not 100mm of eye relief that some people think Magnum is required, generally speaking, the types of rifle you'll be using a high-end optic like this on will either have a muzzle brake on if they are heavy recoil and be a heavy rifle, or be a fairly light recoiling rifle, and there are appreciable benefits to that 90mm maximum eye relief. Field of view is at 100 yards, 20.3 to 3.4 feet, or in metre terms, that's 6.8 to 1.1 metres width at 100 metres. And the click value, as said before, is either quarter MOA if you have the MOA version of the scope, or this one is the 10th milliradian version with 10mm at 100 metre clicks. You can, of course, choose the scope in minutes of angle or milliradians, whichever you prefer, and the minutes of angle will suit those who prefer that unit, milliradians will suit those who prefer that unit. But the reticles are exactly made to fit either the MOA version or the metric milliradians version, so you're never going to have any problems of doing secondary conversions on your mathematics. Overall adjustment travel in the elevation is 100 minutes of angle on the MOA scope or 29 milliradians for the actual metric scope. That's the one we see here, and that's going to give me a lot of adjustment for shooting at different distances. Windage adjustment range is 40 minutes of angle or 11.6 milliradians, and the minimum parallax, as we've discussed, is 10 meters. Overall length is 377mm, and overall weight is 1035 grams, which does reflect it's quite a large scope, primarily for target use, or it might make a superb long-range varmint as well. But generally speaking, anywhere you want precision, 1000 grams is the starting point for the premium optics you need, because it reflects the mechanics within, the durability of the mechanics within, the material used for those mechanics and their longevity, and also the fact you've got premium glassware inside to give you the greatest optical picture, the finest resolution, and again that long-term durability, because you will be changing distances on this, changing magnification on this, moving the parallax around. You will be making use of that glass to the extreme. It's not quite the same as a hunting scope, which doesn't get that much dialing adjustability, and although they do prefer absolute premium low light capability in terms of light transmission factors, this is the kind of scope where you will be shooting all day long, many hundreds of rounds in certain scenarios. That's where you need that relaxed factor of the versatile eye box at the back and the assurance of those clicks all day long to either dial off or aim off for windage corrections and differences in elevation requirement at different distances you're shooting. Right, I'm going to put this on a rifle now. Let's go shooting. It was interesting to note that with a very low incoming sun position, which would normally promote light problems, I didn't experience any chromatic aberration issues. it was also great to be able to see bullet impact both on the target and when I missed in the splash behind as well, and I had no issue picking up missed point of impact with the ability to either aim off or dial off quickly and immediately, both of which corresponded perfectly because in the first focal plane you can't make any magnification setting mistakes. Well, I've had the scope through Christmas and I've been out shooting it. Interestingly, I've had some very challenging weather conditions because I've either been blighted by fog or had some quite challenging low sunlight coming in straight toward me on some of my targets. So it's given me an opportunity to push this rifle scope in quite a short space of time, more than I often would, and I'm actually pleased to say it's come out very well. Now, I like the fact you've got the neoprene cover. It keeps it totally protected and it stops it getting marked and scratched. This one is the sort of shark grey colour. It is available in black too, and don't forget you can have it in milliradians or minutes of angle. Because this one was in milliradians, I was able to use all my confirmed data. Interestingly, I was having a lot of trouble ranging my targets because of the foggy conditions, but when I'd got my range finding done and all my corrections dialed in, I did find the scope very easy to get on with. Now, this scope is quite expensive. It's £2,223, so it's a serious purchase, but with it being Japanese made, it's got beautiful optical quality and I'm very impressed using it. Now, particular factors I like that when you're setting it up and zeroing it, you don't need any tools. As I showed you before, you've got this lovely rotation indicator here, which tells you instantly when you've gone into the second rotation. But in terms of setting it up, when it's initially zeroed, all you have to do is take that cap off there, lift this off and position it back down at the zero marker, and that automatically, without any tools, gives you your zero stop with -5 clicks available, and it just makes it so easy to set up. And if you do ever have to change ammunition, and especially I go through a lot of rimfire ammunition, I'm often re-zeroing, I'll often change between supersonic, subsonic and regular standard target speed, and it gives me the opportunity just to set it up so quickly and easily. And that's one of the reasons I like rimfire so much, because I find it tests and challenges the optical and tracking capability of scopes so much, because you can just go backwards and forwards between distances as much as you like and you get that great feedback. Now, the parallax adjustment on the side, it's smooth, it's easy to use. I like the fact you can go down to 10 meters. I didn't use that on the rimfire, didn't need it, but I was liking it a lot when I was out sort of 250, 300 meters, and I was able to get a really fine picture on screen. And of course that coincided perfectly with the crisp reticle from the fast focus eyepiece, which once set up was fine. Now, the eye box, just over 90mm, did give me a versatile capability. You can see it's quite spaced forward on this rifle as it is, but I shoot from multiple positions, prone and a lot from the tripod or from into barricades, and I did find it easy to get that set up so that I never found myself troubled by vignettes or anything like that because I was too close or too far away from it. Illumination control on the side, it's quick, it's simple, it's easy to use, and you get a nice reticle picture without it blowing out or giving you too much red kind of light spill into it. It was very difficult to photograph because of the external light conditions. I've done the best I can, but I don't think any photograph of a reticle ever really truly shows you how good it is. And I will say that this is absolutely crisp and sharp for my eyesight, and my eyesight is not as good as it used to be, so I can definitely recommend this scope for people who haven't quite got the eyesight they used to have when they were a little bit younger, because it gives you that visually relaxed environment, which is one of my most rarely used compliments to give an optic. A visually relaxed environment basically means I've come away from using it, I don't feel any eye strain, I don't feel any discomfort, I don't feel as if all those muscles in my eyes have been working too much to get the best from it. And I can genuinely say the Theos has been one of those optics. 34mm tube gives you lots of versatility in terms of rings. You haven't got to worry about different mounting problems. You've got lots of space in front and rear of the saddle to make sure you can get your eye relief set correctly. And of course it gives you that massive amount of elevation and windage that you may well need for competition circumstances. I like the throw lever on top. You can see on video I'm able to quickly wind down, find my targets, wind up, zoom in and get those precision shots away. Given the fact the light conditions were difficult, that was even more appreciable than normal, because I wanted to be able to just knock it right back to 6 times magnification, get my line of sight instantly and then wind it up sort of midway for standing shots, and if I did any prone shots I was able to go up to 36 power. Now it's interesting to note that between the magnification settings you don't really notice the eye relief moving that much, which is nice, because 10 years ago if you zoom the scope in and out a lot you'd find a big movement in the eye relief. You don't get that here, and it's also interesting to note there's no tunneling or anything. If you drop it down to the lowest magnification you get full field of view, highest magnification it's totally in proportion. I do like the finish, and I think the grey colour would probably show more if you were to leave skin dust and things like that on it, but you're not doing. I think I'd personally go for it in the black just because I just like black. Some people think it matches the stock on this rifle. I wasn't quite so sure quite on that one, but it's by the by anyway. It certainly makes the Theos have a bit of a visually distinguished feature that shows everybody what you're using, and you can kind of easily see what you're promoting if you are wanting to promote it. Now that collar on the outside, if you take the parallax all the way down, the parallax will lock out and you can undo the cap from there, but not a problem at all. And you can put your CR2032 battery under that for the illumination control. There isn't an auto off, but I like the fact that you've got that fast press capability to change the illumination setting, switch it on, long hold turns it off, and of course like I said it's not spilling light at all. And with it being first focal plane, when you are down at 6 power, you can turn that illumination on, especially in low light conditions, and you get a nice small reticle that will be suitable for you to rear mounted night vision or anything like that as well. Right, I hope you've enjoyed watching that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell and keep track of my regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.